Do me a favor and type Africa and America in two different tabs on Google. There is an overall misconception that Africa only looks like this. Some people around the world even think and believe that Africa is a continent filled with forests, wild animals, and poor countries. Well, a lot of these things are true, but is there any other continent on this world without these three things? A continent with no forests and no wildlife, or a continent with no poor places or poor people? But for some reason, Africa is the center of poverty and hunger. Come on, let's all agree that this starts from the way Africa is portrayed around the world through social media and news. The point of exaggeration in the news and social media creates an idea that Africa is in deep poverty range, that nobody even gets the chance to see some of the improvement and growth that are being done every single day on the continent. And nowadays, every charity program that needs to show their work of grace send their money to Africa to help poor people. But this has to change. The power of transformation lies in nobody else's hand apart from Africans themselves. It's time to show the rest of the world what you're made of. Welcome back to the theory of Mosia, and your ticket is a subscription. Africa, the second largest continent in the world. It is populated by over 1.2 billion people from 54 different countries. There are over 3,000 different ethnic groups and more than 2,100 languages. So people still think that Africa is one single country. Go. To understand why Africa is portrayed like this in the world, we have to understand the power of media and who holds that power. Media is the means of communication. Well, through radio, television, newspapers, magazine, or internet that reach or influence people widely. In the modern world, this is one of the ways through which information has been going from one place to another, one country to another, or one continent to another. Most of the social media apps that we use in today's world were created in the Western countries, which makes them have the biggest creators and influencers around the world and on those platforms. They grow millions and millions of audience around the world, making them the pinpoint of looks and entertainment. Most of the time, they create videos centered around, I quote, perfect cultures and amazing places. People around the world spend their time on social media enjoying other people's lives, and they forget that they have their own lives to live. And guess who is among those people? Africans ourselves. But what is the secret behind all of this? Well, it is pretty simple. We're living in a world which is based on branding and marketing. For instance, the United States, they've marketed themselves to be one of the best countries in the world where everybody can go to chase their dreams and become really successful. But what we don't understand as Africans is that everything lies into the power of media and marketing. We don't have to let anybody tell our story. For instance, think about Black Panther and how that movie was a masterpiece. People around the world think that Wakanda is a real place somewhere in Africa. And I even have some of my friends who ask me whether we use vibranium as a source of power or electricity. But remember, this is a story which was told by a Western person. But what if we give them the real version, like the King Ruganzu or Shaka Zulu? The ability to mold what we want to show and how to show it, that's the real ability of marketing and branding. The only image that the rest of the world has on us is poor and hungry children, zebras, giraffes, mountain and beautiful landscapes, where it gets to the point where someone thinks that Africa is a big jungle. Nobody gets to know some of the best stories in human history, and no one gets to know some of the most beautiful places around Africa. Branding lies into the power of press and media. We have to know what to show and how to show it. The rest of the world doesn't have to be afraid of doing some collab music with African artists just because they think we are some kind of savages. By the way, cheers to Nigeria for the long way they've made in the music industry so far. We have to understand that we can't look for our blessings into other people's house. I agree and understand that we've all been in some deep historical problems, but everyone else did. And if you are out there thinking that Africa is a poor and drunken continent, let me help you start the year with a fresh mind. This is Africa.